Welcome to Aging Gracefully on Suncoast FYI. I'm your host, Nancy O'Neill. Each week I speak with local professionals on a wide range of topics, from fitness to finances and from dance to dentistry. We are here to give you tips and advice on how you can live a happy and healthier life no matter what age you may be. We're happy to have co-owner of the Astaire Dance Studios in Sarasota, Tiana Ramirez, back with us this year. Today we're going to talk about how dance can improve your social life. That's wonderful. It's, I was thinking about it and having you come back, and thank you so much.
It was honestly perfect timing.
Yeah.
We were thinking about it, and this time last year, or a little over a year ago, this is what we were working on, and we enjoyed coming here and spreading how dancing really can reverse the aging process and all the benefits to it.
And that's one thing. Dancing never goes out of style.
Ever.
Okay? It's been going on for thousands of years. People have been dancing. So it's something that you can do your whole life, right?
It's timeless. It really is seasonless.
How can it increase your social life? Let's start with that. Because a lot of people, as they age or whatever, or younger people, they don't have so much of a social life.
Social life. So you just said it perfectly. So this actually fits both. As you age or even when you're younger, it's kind of funny. We have this thing called a talk and dance test. So when you're first coming in and you're dancing, we're obviously talking to you, and it's kind of like, well, wait, I can't walk and chew gum. Why are you talking to me? Well, the reason why is because we're trying to build in the social aspect to it. Because when you are out dancing, it is, nice to be able to socially speak with someone as you're dancing. So that's kind of how we start.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So we call it our talk and dance test. It's kind of silly, but it gets everybody in the beginning, but then it gets easier. Yeah. Obviously, through dancing, you gain a certain type of confidence that can happen quickly. It can take a little bit of time. It just depends. And that already brings out a different side of you personally, so that socially you're able to interact with people more. You're not so shy. You find yourself in different situations where, well, if there's music, you're going to dance now because you have this whole new confidence.
Exactly. So you become more comfortable, more self-confident.
And you're meeting people. A lot of people come into the studio and they want to find somebody with like interests. It's just like going to a gym or having a book club or something. It's easier to do it when you know people. So a big benefit to that and how it can increase your social life is you're meeting people constantly, people that share the same interest. You're gaining confidence through a lifelong skill, that only trickles down to everything else.
Now, there's something you said about social parties that you have at Astaire. What are those?
So at our studio, and actually nationwide, so with over 165 studios in the United States, and each year I can't tell you how many more are opening, we have our own Friday night or Thursday night practice parties. We call those our social parties. So what we do is that we try and turn our studio into as much as a nightlife situation as possible. So we have a DJ, sometimes we have food, we have drinks, we'll play games, but the most important thing is turning it into a real life situation for people who want to dance and practice what they've been working on. Obviously, again, they're mixing and mingling with other people that want to do it, they're meeting new people, they're putting into practice what they've learned. But the big kicker is that they have us. So they have the instructors there in the studio as a safe place. So if they kind of are struggling and they're not quite sure, what am I supposed to do to this specific song, or I'm not quite sure how to do that dance again, or I can't remember it, then we're right there, just kind of like tag team in and help them, and it makes the night a little bit more smoother for people instead of going out and trying it and they come back and say, well, I couldn't get it right away.
Exactly. And that's typically what happens, and then you have that setback. So it's better to get all of that out while you're under your safe umbrella there.
And we theme them. So sometimes we'll theme our parties to make it like this week we have a disco party. We'll have country western parties, so we try and tie in some kind of theme to improve that social side of it. And it's interesting to see some of the 92-year young women dress up in their cowgirl boots. It's a blast.
It's fun. Now, obviously you mentioned that there isn't any requirements to dancing prior to coming to you. But do you have private classes or are they group classes? Do you have both? And how about the cost of that, Tiana?
So we do, we have a three-way teaching method. And again, that actually goes back to all of our studios. So all the studios in the nation. So even if, let's say you, Nancy, were to go move to Chicago and you wanted to start taking lessons after already taking lessons in Sarasota, you pick up right where you,
there.
right
Okay.
where, right there. So we all have private lessons, which is your one-on-one instruction with your teacher. We have group classes every day of the week, which is maybe 8 to 10 students to one instructor, and you usually focus on one dance style. And then we have our practice parties. So that's kind of what we say is our three-way teaching method.
Okay.
You learn best in your private lesson, you reinforce muscle memory in group classes, and you really put your practice into play when you're at a party.
I think it's nice to start with private lessons because
Absolutely.
you actually get the foundation down, and then you can expand upon that.
Well, and that one-on-one, you know, that there's a lot to be said with that one-on-one connection. And sometimes in a group class, you may not, the teacher may not have the chance to reach you personally and correct something or answer a question that you have because there may be 15 students in the class.
Sure.
So definitely the one-on-one is good to start.
Okay. Well, and to end today's interview with you, which has been delightful. It's nice to see you again. So people can go to your website and they can learn more about all of the classes that we've just talked about. So.
Yes, the classes and some of the other benefits and starting to get that social life up and going.
All right, great. Well, we'll have you back in a few weeks.
Absolutely, thank you.
And we'll do some dancing.
I think so.
Okay. We introduce you next to Dr. Jenny Wilkins with ageVital Pharmacy as soon as we come back, so don't go away. Hot flashes, power surges, or personal summer. We have nicknames to play off the symptoms of menopause, and believe it or not, andropause. But how do we really know how to keep them at bay? Here with some ways to determine what's behind your heat wave and how to cool it off is Dr. Jenny Wilkins, also known as Dr. Jenny from ageVital Pharmacy. Hi.
Hi, Nancy. How are you today?
Good. Welcome to our first show. I'm so glad that you're going to be with us all 13 weeks, and we have a lot to talk about.
I know. So many women and men are going to
Yes.
find answers to questions they're most embarrassed to talk about.
There we go. And of course, menopause is not one of the things that anybody likes to talk about, but we're going to start with that today and see how we can help our viewers.
Yeah, and menopause. Menopause is when a woman's menses pauses, meaning there's no more of these sex hormones that are regulating temperature, and this is where all of the side effects come from. The side effects of having insomnia, or you're losing your hair, and then this hot flash where women get hot and then they're cold and they're hot and they're cold. I have some women that come to my facilities, Nancy, and they say in the middle of the night they wake up in a pool of their sweat, and they're like, what is going on and how can my body be doing this? Like, help me please, I can't live like this. Or they're in a meeting and all of a sudden they start turning red and they get flushed and flustered, and you know, it's almost like this heart palpitative type of thing. It's not just the Florida heat, because I'm having a hot flash just, you know, coming here today with that Florida sun, but it's an actual temperature thing. So what in our body is regulating our temperature, our metabolism? So once women go through menopause, your estrogen goes through the roof, your progesterone starts to drop. So when you have this lack of homeostasis, meaning a lack of hormones being imbalanced, your hormones start to drop slowly, and with that, bad things start to happen. So it's typically linked to estrogen dominance. And here in this toxic country, I mean, we have xenoestrogens, phytoestrogens. Think of estrogen as like, you need a small amount of estrogen to protect your heart, but you don't need all of this abundance of estrogen that we're getting in our environment from our plastics, from our tap water, believe it or not. Our tap water has all these molecules. So when you're drinking tap water, I tell women, number one, you know, make lifestyle choices. Look at what you're drinking, look at what you're eating, and then avoid, these key factors. So I tell people avoid, certain prescription drugs because they're loaded with synthetic hormones, for example. That's going to mess up, the ovarian cycle, your natural cycle.
So what if you're given these by a doctor? How do you change? Obviously, we come see you, but I mean, what should they do? They can't just stop taking their medication.
Right. This is when they start to advocate for themselves, when the patient becomes their own healthcare advocate. And I love empowering the consumer, saying, okay, I am not, Premarin deficient. When women are going through menopause, doctors want to give them this Premarin pill.
Right.
And Premarin is derived from a pregnant horse's urine. That's disgusting. Why would we be prescribed that? Or they're given Armour Thyroid, and Armour Thyroid is derived from pig. It's like, we are not animals, doctors. We are not pigs. We're not cows. We're not horses. Why are you giving these supplements that have a longer list of side effects than benefits? That's when the customer goes to their doctor and saying, you know what? I don't need this. Give me something that's biochemically identical to what is naturally supposed to be in my body. And what are those chemicals? Chemicals like progesterone, for example, and the doctor can test for progesterone deficiency. They never test for Premarin deficiency or Armour Thyroid deficiency or birth control deficiency. Young women out there taking birth control, did your doctor ever test you to see if you're orthotricycline deficient or Depo-Provera deficient or Yasmin? There's no such thing.
There's a lot of things they have to look for. So how do we prevent them? Obviously, we change our medications. What types of things do we take,
So you
doctor?
ask your doctor, I want to look at real chemicals, look at my progesterone levels, look at my estrogen levels, look at my DHEA levels, look at, adrenal function. The adrenal, sometimes that's the first thing when you're going through menopause. Your adrenal glands start to slow down, and then that starts a domino effect of different things happening systemically. So I tell women, take supplements like vitamin B6 or adaptogens that help reboot the metabolism, that adrenal gland. And when a woman's adrenal glands are slowing down, the weight starts to get put on, and it's everywhere where we don't want it, in our hips, in our underarms, behind our thighs, the dimply tush. It's like, no woman wants that.
Telltale sign that you're going into menopause.
Right.
But what's this you were saying, the android?
The andropause. Okay.
Andropause.
Yes, ladies. It's not just men, women going through it. Men go through what's called andropause. And andropause is the male version of menopause. So their androgens come to a pause. So testosterone becomes really low. And then you see men, they as they're getting older, they're less broad-shouldered, and you see them starts to slouch, and eventually their head's down, below their knees. By the time they get up to, become 80-year-old men, they look like skinny, toothpicks, and they have no muscle. You give a man a shot of testosterone, their muscle comes back, their libido comes back, and then it gets rid of their hot flashes too. So hot flashes, men suffer from hot flashes.
So you brought some products. Are these just for women here, or are these men and
women?
Okay.
Now this is one that I personally take. This is called progesterone. I do a 10% cream, and so when the lab work comes back, Nancy, this is what women need for progesterone. Progesterone is like the female Valium, a natural Valium. So it gets rid of your anxiety, your nervousness, helps you sleep. You could apply it on your face and it gets rid of wrinkles. So not only is it getting rid of your hot flashes, it's making you younger, and it's protecting you from getting cancer. And for men, you're typically not worried about getting breast cancer, but they're worried about getting prostate cancer. So if they're having hot flashes, chances are they're deficient in progesterone, and that's a prescriptive one, and it's inexpensive. DHEA spray. DHEA is a hormone. This one's an over-the-counter one that you can spray in your mouth. It's a precursor to testosterone. So men, if they come, deficient in testosterone, they could just take a couple sprays of that, and women too, and it helps them with their libido.
And finally, what's this one?
The Adrenal Pro. So that helps them with the stress hormone. So once they start gaining that weight or they're having hot flashes, they take this Adrenal Pro, and it gets rid of this Buddha belly. I say, no one wants a Buddha belly.
Okay. All right. Things to look out for and things to get on my list.
I have it.
I'll come see you.
Every trip that I go on, this is like
Bring
my to
those
go.
with you.
Oh, absolutely. And if I don't take it, I'm like, where'd this little pooch come from? It's like,
Well,
my
thank you.
hormones.
Thank you for being here today. And
Thank you for having me.
See you next week.
Sounds good.
Astaire Holt with Star Financial joins us after the break. We'll be right back. Working with individuals and their families to plan their financial future. This is Astaire Financial Solutions' motto. This season we'll have weekly tips on planning for investing from President Astaire Holt. Today we're going to be talking about women and investing. Welcome to the program, and it's going to be such a pleasure to find out more about what everyone needs to know about, but women are in particular on your high priority. Let's start by telling our viewers how long you've been in the financial industry and get a little background on you.
Well, first, thank you for inviting me.
Of course. Of course.
And I've been doing this quite a while. I started on Wall Street in the early 80s for some larger firms down there, and I was a secretary. And I was working in New York City on Wall Street for about 8 to 10 years. And then I came to Florida, to Sarasota in 1991. I started with an independent firm in 1995 as their office manager. I got Series 7 registered in 1996, and I have been working with clients ever since.
Okay. Now, so you've gained all of the criteria, what is it, that you need to do what you do?
All the registrations and licensing, and yes, I have quite a few.
Okay, so you can pretty much do everything across the board here in the state of Florida.
I can be registered to offer securities in any state in the United States, provided that certain state requirements are satisfied. I also have my 7, my 55, my 31 for different types of securities registrations, and I have a Series 24, which is a general securities principle.
All right, so primary focus of your practice, though? I mean, since you can do all these things, what is your primary focus?
My primary focus is working mostly with women and couples, and how I say, a very few very special men. I do have male clients as well. And I do very holistic. I see what the client needs, what their risk tolerance is, what their goals are, and I work directly with these clients to make sure that everything is taken care of, that we grow their assets, that we plan for retirement, we plan for income if they're already retired, and work with them to get to their goals.
Okay, so when somebody comes in, if I come in to meet with you, I give you background on what I have, my assets, my dreams, my goals, and from the picture that I present you, then you determine what's best for me as an individual?
Yeah, we look at what you have and ask you, where's your comfort level? Are you comfortable with this kind of thing? How many years out are we looking at? Do you want to save for your children or grandchildren? Do you need income? Are you concerned about running out of money? Are you concerned about not getting enough income? You know, how do you feel about the cost of living going up? Because milk isn't going to cost the same 10 and 20 years from now. How do you feel about risk? And we work within those guidelines to get you where you need to be.
Okay. Now, you work primarily with women. Why aren't you casting a larger net, so to speak?
I believe that, well, first of all, women are different. We are way different. And I believe that my industry just doesn't understand that women invest differently, we see risk differently, we communicate very differently.
Than men do.
Yeah. And my industry, most in my industry don't understand that. The other thing is, in my industry, registered financial advisors, only 16% in the entire United States are women. Only 3% of all portfolio managers are women. So we really don't have people that are doing things that talk and believe that the way we do.
So what is the difference that you see between women investors and men?
Women are so focused on the goal, on the planning, on not running out of money, on taking care of their kids, on leaving money to certain charities. Men, on the other hand, they want to know about performance. They want to know, you know, the best trade they did. Women aren't. Women want to know their assets are growing, and they want to understand what they hear and what's going on. They want to know the what's and whys more than the hows and that kind of thing.
Okay, so why do you feel it's important, again, for focusing on women, why do you feel it's important for women to have their own advisors?
Most women are going to be in charge of their own assets at one point or another.
Okay.
That's either because of the death of a spouse or a divorce. A lot of women take care of their spouses or their parents,
Sure.
and they're going to have control of their assets. And the problem is, if they don't have somebody that they're comfortable with, that they're working with, it is such a scary and stressful time.
Yes, I mean, it's scary enough to go through, but when you have to make that kind of transition, you need to have somebody like you in place.
That you're comfortable with, that you know. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you. Look forward to what you have in store for us in the coming weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on Aging Gracefully on Suncoast FYI. To find more tips from local experts, you can view previous episodes and complete seasons at snntv.com under programming. We'll be back next Saturday and Sunday at 7 p.m. with more tips on how you can live a happier and healthy life. Until then, have a wonderful week.